After 5 years of grinding, of being the company's go-to tech guy, of swallowing every empty promise about promotions and raises, I was laid off. They didn't just show me the door. They tried to shove me out of it without so much as a dime in severance. When I refused to go quietly, HR exiled me to the logistics department to do grunt work. They revoked my Slack access, wiped me from the company directory, and packed up my desk, all to force my hand. All right, you want to play hardball? Phoenix. Hello, Department of Labor. I need to file a wrongful termination claim. Hello, is this the fire marshal's office? I'd like to report some serious fire code violations in my workplace. Hello, IRS. I have reason to believe my employer is engaged in tax evasion. David, we've had to make some tough decisions about restructuring, and your name is on the list. I wanted to give you a heads up so you can start looking at other opportunities. As of next month, you won't need to come into the office anymore. The person speaking was Brenda Vance, our newly crowned head of HR. Rumor had it, management brought her in specifically for her expertise in cost reduction, which was a pretty slick corporate euphemism for being a professional executioner. I had to stop myself from laughing out loud. Cost reduction? Just call it what it is. You hired a hatchet woman to fire people. Just a few days ago, after I'd pulled a string of all-nighters to get the new software build ready, our director, Greg, was slapping me on the back, promising a fat end-of-year bonus. The second the code went live, he kicked me to the curb. The new program just launched, and now you're letting me go? Fine, that's management's prerogative. So, are we talking a standard severance package or the double payout for wrongful termination? The moment I mentioned money, Brenda's face soured. She pursed her lips. We'll be paying out your final month's salary on the usual schedule, and this conversation serves as your 30-day notice. She left it at that. The message was crystal clear. They weren't planning on paying me a cent of severance. I let out a short, sharp laugh. My employment contract is still active. Firing me now constitutes wrongful termination, which means the company is legally obligated to pay double the standard severance. I've been here for 5 years, so that comes out to 10 months' salary. Brenda looked at me with pure disdain, raising an eyebrow. If you take your final paycheck and walk away quietly, this is a layoff. If you decide to push your luck, this becomes a termination for cause, and good luck finding another job with that on your record. Got it. So the company's plan is to illegally fire me with zero compensation. In that case, I guess we'll see each other at the labor board hearing. Seeing that I wasn't backing down and was ready to get lawyers involved, Brenda switched tactics, trying a softer approach. A practiced, insincere smile spread across her face. David, Greg told me you're a veteran here, 5 years with the company. I'm sure you have a real sense of loyalty. It's just a tough economic climate right now, and if things were different, the company would love to keep you. We just hope you could be a team player and understand the company's position. They were firing me without cause and still trying to play mind games and dangle carrots. The purple sweater she was wearing suddenly made her look like a rotten grape, all bad news on the inside. Her audacity was almost comical. You want me to treat the company like family? Did the company ever treat me like family? I worked like a dog, day and night, thinking it would lead to a promotion and a raise. Now, they were trying to throw me out with nothing. Brenda, you and I both know that withholding severance in this situation is against the law. I'm hoping the company will recognize my years of hard work, and we can just handle this by the book. Let's part on good terms. The gloves were off. I was done playing nice. Just give me the money. I have no emotional attachment to this company. Do you think a slave learns to love the master who works him to the bone? What a joke. Brenda slammed her pen on the table, her voice turning sharp and serious. If you insist on being difficult, then we won't fire you. You can keep working here. We'll just see who regrets that decision more. She snapped her laptop shut, stood up, and stormed out of the conference room. This kind of HR person really knows how to be disgusting. 2. I hadn't even been back at my desk for 30 minutes when the official email landed in my inbox. A new job assignment. Due to evolving business needs, and after careful consideration and evaluation, the company has decided to reassign your position. Effective immediately, your role will be changed from senior backend engineer to logistics specialist. Specific duties for this new role are to be determined. Your compensation structure will be changed from the salary stipulated in your employment contract to a base wage plus performance-based incentives. The performance metrics will be determined by the Human Resources Department. We are confident you will excel in your new position. Reading the email, I let out a cold laugh. Reassigned to logistics, with my salary slashed to minimum wage plus some vague performance bonus. Knowing Brenda, that performance metric would probably involve me owing the money. This wasn't a reassignment. It was a transparent attempt to force me to quit. I typed out a reply. Subject: Position reassignment, formal disagreement. Hello. I have received the email regarding my reassignment. I do not consent to this change. Per the Fair Labor Standards Act and the terms of my employment contract, any material change to job duties or compensation requires mutual agreement between the employer and the employee. No such agreement has been reached. An employer cannot unilaterally or forcibly reassign an employee to a different role under these circumstances, and doing so is a violation of my employment rights. Hit reply. No. Hit reply all. The company had already shown its hand. They were dead set on getting rid of me. I had no interest in wasting any more of my life here. Forwarding this to the entire company would serve two purposes. First, it would be a wake-up call for my colleagues who were still drinking the corporate Kool-Aid. Second, since everyone now knew the company was trying to screw me over, they probably wouldn't bother me with trivial work requests. That would give me plenty of free time to brush up on labor law and start looking for a new job. All I had to do was clock in and out on time and keep a record of my attendance. Fire me? You'll have to find a legitimate reason first. But I never could have predicted what would happen the next day. I almost couldn't even get in the building. David, you can stop swiping. It's not the card. Frank, the security guard at the front desk, said with an awkward smile. After you left yesterday, that Brenda woman deleted your access from the system. She told me not to let you in, no matter what. He pointed to a cardboard box on a nearby table. She dropped this off last night, said to give it to you when you showed up and to tell you to just go home. He glanced over. It was all the personal stuff from my desk. It looked like Brenda had just swept it all into a box. I pulled out my phone. Sure enough, I'd been logged out of the company's Slack and our email server. I was completely locked out. It was both infuriating and hilarious. I had no idea where Greg found this legal amateur. She didn't seem to realize that forcibly preventing me from entering the workplace doesn't count as job abandonment. In fact, it strengthened my case for wrongful termination and meant I didn't even have to show up anymore. The burden of proving attendance falls on the employer. Since she'd wiped me from the system, what evidence could she possibly produce at a hearing? I took a few pictures of the access denied message on the keycard scanner and the box of my belongings, attached them to a new email, and for good measure, sent it to the company-wide distribution list from my personal account. My corporate email was gone, but my personal one worked just fine. Subject: for the record, locked out. To whom it may concern. Without any mutual agreement, the company has revoked my building access and cleared out my workspace. As the company has not provided the conditions for me to perform my work, any resulting absence cannot be considered job abandonment. This is to formally notify you of the situation. Attached image 1, access denied. Attached image 2, box of personal items. After sending it, I gave Frank a small smile and didn't press him to let me in. I knew how Brenda operated. If I somehow got inside, she'd take it out on him. We're all just working folks trying to get by. I wasn't about to make his life harder. Besides, I could just use the fire escape. Our branch office was only on the 3rd floor of a larger office building. It was a short 3 or 4-minute walk up the stairs. I squeezed past some stacked boxes and other junk in the stairwell. Just one more flight up was the side door near the company's reception area. As I approached, I heard a familiar voice. Don't worry, brother-in-law. It's all under control. I've done this at other companies. You just have to talk tough, and they get scared and forget all about severance pay. Brenda? And brother-in-law? I slowed my steps, pressing my ear closer to the door. She was definitely plotting something, and it couldn't be good. On instinct, I pulled out my phone and hit record. You never know. Better to be prepared. Just relax about that David Miller situation. I had his desk cleared out and his access revoked. He can't get in. Later, we'll just say he stopped showing up and fire him for job abandonment. Headquarters is all over that big project he was leading, right? Once he's gone, all the credit, the performance metrics, everything rolls up to you. This year, you're Director Greg. Next year, it might be Vice President Thompson. Haha. Am I right, brother-in-law? And after that, this whole branch office will be ours to run. Oh, about the marketing department. A nepotism hire. So Brenda was Greg Thompson's sister-in-law. That explains how someone with a community college degree and zero relevant experience landed as senior HR role. He'd fed us some line about her having extensive real-world experience. Right, all in the family. The marketing department is a cash cow. Next, we push out that manager and get her cousin in there. You'll get the biggest cut of the profits, of course. Is it fair? Of course it's fair. We're reducing costs and increasing efficiency, remember? Isn't that what headquarters wants? Okay. That's the plan. I'm heading back in. You just enjoy your business trip, brother-in-law. From Brenda's replies, it sounded like Greg was completely on board. He must have gotten so used to being the boss, so disconnected from the actual work, that a little bit of flattery from his family had him floating on air. Get rid of your lead engineer. Get rid of your marketing manager. One guy to bring in the money, the other to build the product. With both of them gone, how did he expect the company to grow? Those two morons were planning to staff the place with their relatives and skim money off the top. Their stupidity was genuinely astounding. I found a number for Ethan Cole, the marketing manager, in my phone's contacts. Taking a breath, I composed myself and made the call. Ethan, it's David from engineering. You busy? If you have a minute, I'd like to grab a coffee. There's something we should talk about. Something about the company. Hey, sorry for dragging you out so early for coffee, I said, shaking Ethan's hand a bit stiffly. We'd worked together on a few project handoffs, but otherwise, we barely knew each other. Not all, David. I was craving coffee anyway. And since you're buying, you just saved me $5. Ethan replied with an easy smile. He took a sip, then his expression turned more serious. Listen, I heard about what's going on. To be honest, it's a completely classless move. But this came down from Greg and HR. My hands are tied. I hope you don't hold it against me. Spoken like a true marketing pro, smooth, diplomatic, and non-committal. But as someone who lived and died by his numbers, he wouldn't stand for anyone messing with his bottom line. And he had to know, today it was me, but tomorrow it could easily be him. I held up a hand to stop him. I took out my phone and played the recording I just made in the stairwell. As he listened, the color drained from Ethan's face. I spoke up to break the silence. I overheard that in the stairwell this morning by chance. You're a sharp guy, Ethan, a smart guy. I just don't want to see you waste your time at a company with no future. His gaze shifted, the earlier composure gone. They wouldn't, would they? My numbers have been solid this year. I shook my head slowly, looking him straight in the eye. The project they just canned me from was a top priority initiative from headquarters. Didn't seem to matter. You haven't signed that big new vendor contract yet, have you? Because once you do, things might look very different. The news of me being pushed out right after a major launch had surely spread through the office gossip mill, not to mention my reply, all emails. He knew. His stunned reaction was the same as mine had been, a deep-seated disbelief that the company, or rather, Greg and Brenda, could be so monumentally stupid. The headquarters was in another state, 1,000 miles away. Out of sight, out of mind. They were acting like kings of their own little castle, forgetting they were just middle managers with a bit of dirt on their shoes. Thanks for telling me this, David. So what? What are you planning to do? I pushed my glasses up the bridge of my nose, a glint in my eye. Don't worry, Ethan. I'm not asking you to do anything risky. It's just that people should have to face the consequences of their actions. When the time comes, maybe you could just give me a little heads up on what's going on internally. That's all. You don't have to do anything else. Just sit back and watch Greg and Brenda get what's coming to them. They wanted to mess with me? Let's play. A notification popped up on my phone. Well, a message from our dear Brenda. It was a direct text this time, not some formal, smarmy email. She was ordering me to be back at my desk within 10 minutes. She'd told security to let me in, but I'd have to sign in as a temporary visitor. If I was late, it would be marked as an unexcused absence. 10 minutes? Good thing I knew she was rotten to the core and had picked a coffee shop right next to the office. 10 minutes was just enough time. I stood up and flashed my phone at Ethan. Gotta go. Time to face the music. When I badged in, I made sure to take another photo of the visitor log as evidence. I had barely stepped out of the elevator when Brenda's shrill voice cut through the air. You don't have a desk anymore. There's an empty spot in the logistics corner. You can sit there for now. She vaguely pointed to a dusty, forgotten corner of the office without even looking at me. It was clear her plan was to just ice me out. Then, she turned to the receptionist next to her and said, just loud enough for me to hear, "I can't believe the nerve of some people. The company fires him, and he still has the gall to show his face around here. Well, I guess jobs are hard to come by. Maybe cleaning toilets is a better fit for him anyway. What do they call that? Birds of a feather? Ha ha." Her laugh was the sound of a petty tyrant enjoying a small victory. It was utterly obnoxious. I clenched my jaw and swallowed my anger. The project was scheduled to go into public beta soon. In 2 weeks at most, it was going to hit a major snag. I needed to get my severance and get out before then to avoid being dragged back in to clean up their mess. I wrote every line of that code. I was in such a rush to meet the deadline that I didn't even have time to add comments. Without me, who did they think was going to fix it? We'd see who was begging who soon enough. "David, why are you still here?" Greg Thompson looked like he had just gotten back from his trip, looking rushed and annoyed. He walked over to where I was sitting, staring down at me in my corner with a look of disgust. He was clearly shocked that I had the nerve to just sit there calmly. Looks like Brenda couldn't handle me, so she called in the big boss to do the dirty work. "I'm working," I said simply. "David, I understand you're upset, but you're making this difficult for everyone. Look, how about this? I'll talk to HR, see if I can get them to give you an extra month's pay. Will that make you leave?" Was he getting nervous? Worried he wouldn't be able to take credit for my project if I was still around when it officially launched? The more anxious he got, the calmer I became. My position was firm. I looked him in the eye. Double severance. The company owes me 10 months' salary. My defiance made Greg's face flush with anger. He pointed a finger at me and yelled, "Don't push your luck, Miller. I'm doing you a favor by even offering this. Take the money and get out of here. What are you trying to prove by making a scene? Did I hit a nerve?" I watched the fat, middle-aged man in front of me practically jumping up and down with rage. 10 months' pay, or we go to arbitration. Fine, go to arbitration. See who that hurts more. We'll drag it out for months. You won't have a record of termination, and you'll have to explain to every future employer why you're suing your last one. Who do you think is going to hire you then? He finished his tirade and glared at me for a solid 30 seconds, his anger still simmering before storming off. I glanced at the clock on my computer. Quitting time. I clocked out, then pulled out my phone and made 3 calls to 3 different government agencies. "Hello, Department of Labor? I need to file a claim." "Hello, Fire Marshal's office? I'd like to report a number of fire code violations." "Hello, IRS? I'm calling to report a case of suspected tax evasion." At 9:30 the next morning, I was just settling into my corner with a fresh cup of Earl Grey tea, ready for a relaxing day of doing absolutely nothing, when I heard a commotion coming from the reception area. I could hear people from the customer service department whispering, "I think the IRS and the fire marshal are here. It looks serious. I bet they found something. The fire code stuff is probably just a fine, but the IRS. Man, if it's bad, someone could do hard time for that." The whispers were followed by a few hushed gasps. "You think it's that serious? Tax fraud is no joke. You've seen the way our books are cooked. You know." I took a slow sip of my tea. Life was good. The fire code violations were a sure thing. The stairwells were still clogged with boxes and old office furniture when I came in this morning. That was going to be a nice fine, probably a few $1,000s. As for the taxes, that was a bit of a wild card. I'm a tech guy, not an accountant. My information came from Ethan, who mentioned that the company's invoicing was messy and looked a lot like they were evading taxes. Depending on what they found, it could mean repaying back taxes with interest plus hefty penalties. After a morning of chaos, the inspectors finally left. The moment they were out the door, Jessica from customer service scurried over, a conspiratorial glint in her eye, to deliver the latest news. "The fire marshal definitely fined us. 40 grand, and we have to fix everything or face more fines. The tax situation is still up in the air. They took boxes of financial records. We'll know more once the IRS auditors go through everything." The gossip spread through the office like a virus. Before I could hear much more, the receptionist called my name. Greg and Brenda were waiting for me in the conference room. The second I walked in, Brenda slammed her laptop shut. The sound echoed in the silent room. She glared at me, her voice dripping with venom. "That was you, wasn't it?" I raised an eyebrow, pulled out a chair, and sat down calmly. Looking at their angry, anxious faces, I replied in a mild tone, I was just fulfilling my civic duty. Besides, I added, as a current employee, I believe what I did was in the best interest of the company. Brenda shot up from her chair, her voice so shrill it was painful. Best interest? What do you know about? Greg, who finally seemed to have a flicker of strategic thought, realized that yelling at me was just a display of impotent rage. He put a hand on Brenda's arm to calm her down and forced a stiff smile. David, let's talk this out. There's no need to report the company. It doesn't do any of us any good. I nodded, pretending to understand, but my words were designed to twist the knife. I tried talking it out before. 10 months severance. Maybe you two are getting a little old and didn't hear me clearly. But that's fine. If you don't want to pay, I guess you don't mind having inspectors dropping by every week. It must be such a hassle. The mention of money wiped the fake smile from Greg's face. His tone turned hostile. Do you have any idea how much money you cost the company today with that fire department stunt? And we don't even know what the IRS will find. And you still have the nerve to demand a full payout. I cost the company money? The hypocrisy was breathtaking. I slapped my own pen down on the table, my voice turning hard and cold. Cost the company? Wasn't you, Greg, who cost the company? As the director, you ignored fire hazards and played fast and loose with the taxes. And instead of taking responsibility, you're trying to blame me. You're damn right. I have a nerve to demand what I'm owed. You have a nerve to be a leader? To bring in your sister-in-law as the head of HR? What? Does your family own the company now? And let's be real. If you had just paid me what you owed me from the start, we could have parted ways amicably, and none of this would have happened. By the way, Brenda, I assume you've received the notice from the labor board by now. I leaned forward. As long as you refuse to pay me, I will make it my mission to report this company for every single violation I can find. Fire code, tax issues, you name it. Let's just see who ends up costing the company more. The air in the room grew thick. The unwavering resolve in my eyes seemed to shake them. I decided to add a little more fuel to the fire. You know, with tax issues, a small mistake is just a fine, but a big one, that can mean jail time. Right, Greg? Greg's face turned a sickly shade of gray. The company's books were definitely dirty, and his reaction told me that a good chunk of that dirty money had ended up in his pocket. He was a thief, scared I'd found the evidence. On top of that, he now knew that I knew about his relationship with Brenda. He had no idea what other dirt I might have on him. He couldn't afford to have me digging around any longer. I didn't have time to drag this out with the company. But did the company have time to drag this out with me? He opened his mouth and closed it. He grit his teeth, the decision clearly tearing him apart. Finally, he spat out the words. Fine, you'll get your money. Sign the papers today and get the hell out of my sight. The money was in my account, and the official termination papers were in my hand. Looking at the significant deposit in my bank account, a wave of relief washed over me. Even though I had to find a new job, things had ended exactly as I wanted. It was already Tuesday. In a few more days, the project would have its public launch. In the test environment, the program had performed flawlessly. It was a top priority initiative designated by headquarters. The problem was, testing has its limits. You can only simulate a certain number of users. In a real-world scenario, if the server load became too high, users would get errors and be unable to access the system. I had actually been thinking about a solution and had even left a backdoor in the code to implement it later. But I never imagined Greg and Brenda would be so desperate to claim credit. Mainly, they were just stupid. The moment the QA team gave them the green light, they couldn't wait to get rid of me. In their minds, any junior engineer could handle basic maintenance. Besides, they had a whole department of tech guys. Surely one of them could figure it out, right? Better to get me out of the picture first. As I walked out of the office building for the last time, I glanced back once, then immediately blocked Greg and Brenda's numbers. If I didn't do it now, my phone would be blowing up on Friday when the system inevitably crashed. If this project failed, Greg wouldn't just miss his promotion. He'd be lucky to have a job at all. I spent 2 glorious days at home doing nothing. I caught up on sleep, binged some shows, and ordered takeout. Life was good. Friday finally rolled around, the official launch day for the project. With a piece of fried chicken in my mouth, making it a finger-licking good kind of day, I decided to log in as a user and see how things were going. It was exactly as I had predicted. The server response time was already noticeably slower than it had been during testing. The main wave of users hadn't even logged on yet. Once they did, the application wouldn't be able to handle the load, and the whole system would collapse. It was just a matter of time. I left the app open on my phone just to watch the show. After all, when the avalanche starts, every snowflake plays its part. At 10:15 a.m., the interface, which had been working just moments before, suddenly froze. Then a blank white screen. 404 error. It was so abrupt that users who were in the middle of something would have lost all their unsaved work. I could only imagine the chaos erupting at the office. The customer service lines must be on fire, the support inbox overflowing. They had marketed this as a top-tier launch, and headquarters had funneled some of their biggest clients to it, expecting a huge return. Now those big clients had become big victims. This wasn't just about a buggy feature. The entire platform was unusable. I let out a chuckle, a little bit of schadenfreude. I think I'll have another piece of chicken. Today was a beautiful day. As I was midway through my third piece of original recipe, my phone rang. It was Jessica from customer service. For the most part, I'd gotten along with my former colleagues. I wasn't at the point of blocking everyone from the company. But a call at this particular moment? It probably wasn't Jessica calling of her own free will. I answered. Her voice on the other end was hesitant and strained. David, that project we launched, it's had a major problem. The whole system crashed, and the clients are going crazy. The VP from headquarters has been calling nonstop, demanding we fix it. I was just wondering if maybe you could. I chewed on my chicken, my reply muffled. Aren't you in customer service? You should probably talk to the tech department about that. I'm in the middle of lunch, gotta go. As she heard me about to hang up, a frantic voice cut in. It was Greg, his tone a complete 180 from our last conversation. Humble, friendly, and desperate. Dave, wait. It's me, Greg. Your buddy, Greg. Listen, the program's got a few hiccups. You know how it is. This is a huge project for the company. You think you could come by the office? Help us take a look at it. Davey boy, if you can get this thing fixed, we can bring you right back on. Lead engineer, just like before. When he needs something, he's my buddy. When he doesn't, he's Mr. Thompson. He was laying it on thick, and he offered to come back to work. Like that was some incredible prize. But since these two dogs had come begging, how could I not take them for a little walk? My voice over the phone was sincere, filled with genuine-sounding concern. You're right. That project is critical. I can't believe it crashed. Greg immediately seized on my apparent sympathy. I know, Dave. And you know the guys in the tech department can't get a handle on it. I immediately thought of you. I couldn't get through to your number, so I had to borrow Jessica's phone. Is it really that bad? I asked, feigning surprise. It's a disaster, Dave. This was a top priority assignment from headquarters. The VP himself has already called twice. I had to suppress a laugh, forcing a note of wounded pride into my voice. I don't know, Greg. Brenda was pretty hostile toward me. I really don't want to come back to the office. It would be so awkward if I ran into her. Greg's reply was immediate. Don't you worry about that, Dave. I'll make sure she stays locked in her office. You won't even have to see her. Now, it was time to push a little harder. I don't know. You told me to get the hell out. Brenda treated me like dirt. It was all pretty humiliating. I really don't feel comfortable coming back. Maybe if you and she apologized. I couldn't help it. A small chuckle escaped my lips. I could practically hear Greg grinding his teeth on the other end of the line. He took a sharp breath, then squeezed out a sycophantic apology. Dave, buddy, you're right. I was out of line before. I was wrong to treat you that way. You're the bigger man here. Don't hold it against us. I am sincerely, truly sorry. He then barked at Jessica to get Brenda. A reluctant voice mumbled something on the other end. I'm sorry. It was as quiet as a mouse. What was that? I can't hear you at all. You know what? If it's too much trouble, just forget it. I don't really feel like coming in anyway. I could hear a muffled argument on the other end, Greg hissing at Brenda. I caught a few choice words. Idiot, useless, moron. Then Brenda's voice came through the phone again, significantly louder and clearer this time. David, I'm so sorry. I was completely unprofessional before. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me. Please don't hold a grudge against someone like me. I am sorry, David. They apologized. So was I going to go in? Only a fool would. So, what time do you think you can get here? I can send a car for you. Just give me your address, Dave. Greg prattled on, clearly assuming he had sealed the deal. I let him talk for a moment before cutting him off with a smirk in my voice. You know, it's pretty chilly out today. I think I'll just stay home. But thanks for the apology. I appreciate it. Greg was stunned into silence by my sudden reversal. On the other end of the line, I could hear Brenda start to lose it, her voice rising to a furious shriek. We already apologized. What more do you want? This project has a bug, and it's completely dead in the water. We wouldn't be calling you if it wasn't an emergency. She was neck deep in it and still trying to stir the pot. I replied calmly, a bug, you say? The system isn't working? Well, my employment contract was terminated. So how is that my problem? My question was met with dead silence. I hung up and put my phone on silent mode. You want to bark? Go bark at your clients and the executives at headquarters. After I hung up, my phone screen kept lighting up with calls from Jessica and other colleagues. Greg was clearly desperate. The calls kept coming until the battery died. I spent the rest of the day watching some anime, playing video games, and even caught a couple of episodes of a new series. I ate when I was hungry and slept when I was tired. Life was simple. When I finally got bored, I plugged my phone into charge. The moment it powered on, a flood of notifications poured in. Before I could even start reading them, a call came through from Ethan. Don't tell me you're calling to convince me to go back, I said, half joking. He laughed, a genuinely happy sound. Don't worry, not a chance. I'm just calling with good news. Headquarters fired Greg for gross incompetence. They're also launching an internal investigation into his conduct. If you have any dirt on him, you might want to send an anonymous email to the corporate office. I was a little stunned. I knew he was going to be in trouble, but I didn't expect it to happen so fast. Already? They fired him just like that. As the head of marketing, Ethan's information was always reliable. The project crashed and burned, and several major clients got furious. They called the board of directors at headquarters directly. So yeah, they moved fast. Apparently, this wasn't the first complaint. Some of the other people Brenda pushed out had already reported him for unethical behavior. But Greg was one of the founding members of this branch, so corporate just looked the other way. But this fiasco was different. It happened on launch day. Several clients are threatening to pull their funding, and it's 100% our company's fault for delivering a defective product. Greg was already skimming so much off the top that the branch's finances were tight. This was the last straw. I was surprised by how cheerful he sounded, considering the company was in turmoil. You seem to be in a pretty good mood. How? I guess I am. I already resigned. Got a new job lined up. So now, just like you, I'm purely a spectator enjoying the show. That was fast. I started looking the day you played me that recording. Greg was already skimming from the marketing department's bonuses. I knew that when your project failed, he wouldn't lift a finger to help us deal with the angry clients. We'd be left holding the bag. I decided it was better to get out than to stick around and take the heat. We chatted for a few more minutes. He told me the branch was in shambles. Clients were pulling out, and most of the competent employees had either been fired by Brenda or replaced with her and Greg's unqualified relatives, none of whom could handle the crisis. After Greg was fired and put under investigation, the entire office descended into chaos. After hanging up, I opened my email and composed a new message to the general inbox for the corporate headquarters. I wrote a detailed, anonymous report of what I had witnessed and attached the audio file from the stairwell. Then I hit send. The next time I heard anything about my former company was a month later. I was meeting a friend for dinner downtown and ran into Jessica from the old office. Her face lit up when she saw me. David, what a coincidence. Have you heard? The company is filing for bankruptcy. I had been so focused on starting my own business that I hadn't given the old place much thought. Hearing the news felt surreal, like it was from another lifetime. Seeing my blank expression, Jessica realized I was out of the loop. Oh, you didn't know? After the project failed, the clients pulled their funding. You were gone, and nobody knew how to fix it. Then Ethan, our marketing director, left too. There was no one competent left. They took Greg away, apparently for embezzling company funds. He's probably going to do some serious time. It also brought all the tax issues to light. He could be in prison for years. I heard his wife is filing for divorce. Oh, and get this. The investigation revealed that Brenda was his sister-in-law and that a ton of the recent hires were all his relatives. He was basically turning the company into his own family business. Jessica pointed a thumb over her shoulder at the office tower behind us. But it doesn't matter to me anymore. I quit and opened my own nail salon. You should bring your wife by sometime. I smiled and promised I would. We chatted for another minute before going our separate ways. When I arrived at the restaurant, I saw a familiar face, Brenda. She was working there, dressed in a server's uniform. It looked like she was in trouble for something. The restaurant manager was dressing her down in the middle of the dining room. She stood with her head bowed, biting her lip, mumbling apologies. Her voice was meek and pleading. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, sir. I'll be more careful next time. Please don't dock my pay. Please, sir, I'm begging you. I really need the money. My eyes met hers for a fleeting second. Her face flushed a deep, shameful red. She looked away, her body stiffening, but her training kicked in. She forced a strained, plastic smile and recited, "Welcome. How can I help you?" I looked at the subservient woman in front of me and thought of the arrogant, power-tripping HR director who had tried to ruin my life just a month ago. They were two completely different people. I gave a non-committal my gaze sweeping over her with cold indifference. The manager was still berating her, but I didn't bother listening to her stream of apologies and pleas. I walked right past her. Epilogue. Don't become what you hate, David. I think we need to optimize our staffing configuration. My head of HR, Sarah, handed me a document. I glanced over it. It was a report on employee productivity and output. The numbers were a bit uneven. As I read more closely, I paused, then looked up at her. These are the people who were with us from the very beginning. And you can't measure the tech department's value with sales KPIs. One screw in a machine might not seem important, but if you lose too many, the whole thing falls apart. I continued, our startup isn't losing money. We're just not growing as fast as we'd like yet. If we start cutting key people now, our project development could become unstable. Sarah nodded in understanding. That makes sense. What about the next item? The annual bonus distribution. Let's proceed as planned. The team did a great job this year, so let's adjust the benefits package. Add a $600 holiday bonus for everyone. For the founding employees, make it $1,000 to $1,500. People aren't stupid. They know when a company values them. You know what I mean? From my office, I could hear the quiet cheers and excited whispers from the main workspace as Sarah posted the announcement in the company-wide Slack channel. The clock on the wall showed it was already past 8 o'clock. I finished reviewing the last of the annual financial reports, grabbed my jacket from the back of my chair, and headed out. A dim light was still on in the engineering section. It was Tom, one of our senior engineers. He was on the list Sarah had given me. I knew why. He was 38, with a wife and kids. He didn't have the time or energy to pull the all-nighters that the 20-somethings did. From a purely profit-driven HR perspective, he was a prime candidate for optimization. But that's wrong. This world is full of people over 35. You will be, I will be, we all will be someday. From the sound of his hush phone call, he was telling his wife the good news about the extra holiday bonus. After the mortgage payment, they'd have enough to take their daughter out for a nice dinner and buy some health supplements for their parents. Honest, steady, capable, reliable. He was a snapshot of a whole generation of middle-aged professionals, the quiet, dependable backbone of so many teams. We shouldn't be discarded by the system. I don't want to become a cold, heartless capitalist, at least not while I still have a choice. I don't want to become the very thing I've learned to hate.